American 11, are you trying to call?
The cockpit is not answering their phone. Our number 1 has been staffed and our 5 has been staffed.
Hey, I'm going to call from Washington. I am in a situation with American 11, a possible hijack.
9/11, 2001. A day that will forever change the course of history. It began innocently enough, with a group of terrorists quietly going about their sinister plans. The United States is one of the major flight school hubs, with a constant stream of international students attending flight schools throughout the US, mainly in the Sunshine State of Florida. In the months leading up to the attacks, the terrorists, a group of 19 members of the extremist group Al-Qaeda, infiltrated flight schools across the United States. Under aliases, they mingled with aspiring pilots of all nationalities, masking their true intentions. As they honed their piloting skills, little did the world know that these individuals were preparing to carry out a coordinated act of terror that will claim thousands of innocent lives. On the morning of 9/11, a total of 19 terrorists boarded 4 California-bound commercial airplanes, departing from airports in Boston, Newark, and Washington, D.C. Hijackers Mohammed Atta and Abdulaziz Al-Amari passed through security at Portland International Jetport in Maine at 5:45 a.m. Atta and Al-Amari board a commuter flight to Boston Logan International Airport, where they connect to American Airlines Flight 11. 3 other hijackers will join Atta and Al-Amari aboard Flight 11. Less than 2 hours later, the 5 terrorists who will hijack American Airlines Flight 77 are videotaped as they pass through Washington Dulles International Airport's West Checkpoint. 3 of the hijackers, Nawaf al-Hazmi, Khalid al-Mindar, and Majid Moked, set off metal detectors, but no weapons are found. They proceed to the gate. The hijackers are carrying concealed knives on their persons or in their carry-on luggage. Before 9/11, airports were not required to videotape security checkpoints. At that time, knives were allowed on planes if the blade was less than 4 inches in length. At 7:59 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 takes off from Boston Logan International Airport. 11 crew members, 76 passengers, and 5 hijackers are on board. The aircraft is filled with 76,400 pounds of fuel for its transcontinental run to Los Angeles. 8:15 a.m. Flight 175 takes off. United Airlines Flight 175 takes off from Boston for Los Angeles. The 9 crew members, 51 passengers, and 5 hijackers are on board. This flight is loaded with 76,000 pounds of fuel. At 8:19 a.m., the first indication of trouble.
American 11, are you trying to call?
The cockpit is not answering their phone. Our number 1 has been staffed and our 5 has been staffed.
Hey, I'm going to call from Washington. I am in a situation with American 11, a possible hijack.
What's going on, Betty? The aircraft is erratic again. Problem, very erratic.
Flight 11 crew members contact ground personnel. Flight attendant Betty Ann Ong alerts American Airlines ground personnel to a hijacking underway on Flight 11, reporting that the cockpit is unreachable. Using an in-flight phone, Ong transmits detailed information about the hijacking on the call, which lasts about 25 minutes. Shortly before Ong's call, a hijacker, likely Satam al-Sukami, had stabbed the passenger seated directly in front of him in first class. Hijackers Mohammed Atta and Abdulaziz Al-Amari are seated in close proximity as well. The passenger, identified as Daniel Levine by the flight crew, had served 4 years in the Israeli army. It is speculated he may have tried to stop the hijackers. Levine was likely the first person killed in the 9/11 attacks. At 8:21 a.m., 2 minutes into Ong's call, the hijackers turn off the plane's transponder, a device that allows air traffic control to identify and monitor an airplane's flight path. Meanwhile, American Airlines authorities relay details from Ong to their operations center in Texas. 5 minutes later, Ong provides the hijackers' seat numbers to American Airlines. After several failed connections, at 8:32 a.m., flight attendant Madeline Amy Sweeney reports the hijacking of Flight 11 to a friend on the ground, a manager at Boston Logan International Airport. Over the course of approximately 12 minutes, Sweeney provides key information about the hijacking, including a description of the perpetrators. At 8:20 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77, en route to Los Angeles, takes off from Washington International Airport. 6 crew members, 53 passengers, and 5 hijackers are on board. The flight is loaded with 49,900 pounds of fuel. At 8:24 a.m., while attempting to communicate with passengers and crew inside Flight 11's cabin, hijacker Mohammed Atta presses the wrong button, broadcasting instead to air traffic control and unwittingly alerting controllers to the attacks.
The captain, please sit down. Keep remaining sitting. We have a ball board. Nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any move, you'll danger yourself and the airplane. Just stay quiet.
Minutes later, Atta again makes an unintended transmission to ground control. At least one of Atta's transmissions is picked up by the pilot of Flight 175, Victor Saracini, who informs the Federal Aviation Administration of what he has heard minutes before his own plane is hijacked as well. At 8:30 a.m., the World Trade Center comes alive. Morning activities have commenced at the World Trade Center, a commercial building complex in Lower Manhattan. In addition to the signature Twin Towers, the complex includes a hotel, 4 office buildings, buildings 4, 5, 6, and 7 World Trade Center, shopping mall, restaurants, a public plaza, and a major transportation hub. At 8:37 a.m., after hearing Mohammed Atta's transmission, Boston Air Traffic alerts the U.S. Air Force Northeast Command about the hijacking.
A problem here, we have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not an exercise, not a test.
The Air Force Command mobilizes National Guard jets to identify and follow Flight 11. At 8:42 a.m., Flight 93, scheduled to leave Newark International Airport within minutes of the other hijacked flights, takes off, after a delay due to routine traffic. 7 crew members, 33 passengers, and 4 hijackers are on board the San Francisco-bound flight, which is filled with 48,700 pounds of fuel. At 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 flies directly into floors 93 through 99 of One World Trade Center, the North Tower. The 76 passengers and 11 crew members on board and hundreds inside the building are killed instantly. The crash severs all 3 emergency stairwells and traps hundreds of people above the 91st floor. Immediately, New York City emergency dispatchers sent police, paramedics, and firefighters to the North Tower. 23 engine and ladder companies, 12 chiefs, and 10 specialized fire department units respond to Box 8087, the FDNY's shorthand reference to the World Trade Center. Vehicle drivers are instructed to park adjacent to the North Tower. 8:50 a.m. While visiting an elementary school in Sarasota, Florida, U.S. President George W. Bush is informed that a plane hit the tower. Bush and his advisors initially assumed that the crash is a tragic accident. At 8:55 a.m., the following announcement was issued in the Building 2 main PA system. Your attention please, ladies and gentlemen. Building 2 is secure. There is no need to evacuate Building 2. If you are in the midst of an evacuation, you may use the re-entry doors and the elevators to return to your office. Repeat, Building 2 is secure. At 8:59, only 4 minutes later, the orders are given for all civilians to evacuate the entire World Trade Center complex. At 9 a.m., on board Flight 175, passengers Garnet Ace Bailey, Peter Burden Hansen, and Brian David Sweeney have called family members and alerted them about the hijacking, while a few minutes earlier, a flight attendant, likely Robert John Frankman, had reached a United Airlines operator in San Francisco, California, and reported a hijacking underway. At 9:02 a.m., Evacuation orders are finally broadcasted in the South Tower. Just 1 minute later, at 9:03 a.m., the South Tower is attacked. 5 hijackers crash United Airlines Flight 175 into floors 77 through 85 of 2 World Trade Center, the South Tower, killing the 51 passengers and 9 crew members on board the aircraft and an unknown number of people inside the building. The impact renders 2 of the 3 emergency stairwells impassable and severs a majority of the elevator cables in this area, trapping many above the impact zone and inside elevator cars. Shortly after hijacked Flight 175 strikes the South Tower, some workers in the building jump or fall to their death, a phenomenon already witnessed after the attack of the North Tower. Estimates of the number of people who die as a result of falling from the Twin Towers range from 50 to more than 200. At 9:05 a.m., President Bush issues his first statement about the attacks before boarding Air Force One without a clear destination.
2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand.
At the same time, New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani rushes to the New York Police Department command post. 9:12 a.m. On board Flight 77, flight attendant Renee May and passenger Barbara Olson call family members and alert them about the hijacking of their flight. At 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 crashes into the Pentagon. 53 passengers and 6 crew members perished along with 125 military and civilian personnel on the ground. At 9:42 a.m., the FAA orders all civilian planes in the U.S. to land and closes the entire U.S. airspace. At 9:58 a.m., a 911 call is received from Flight 93. In total, 37 telephone calls are known to have been made from the hijacked Flight 93, most placed from the rear of the plane. One of the last calls is made by passenger Edward Felt, who uses his cell phone to dial 911 after closing himself in a restroom to avoid detection. By 9:58 a.m., Flight 93 is flying so low that he succeeds in reaching an emergency operator nearby Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania. At 9:59 a.m., after burning for 56 minutes, the South Tower collapses in 10 seconds. More than 800 civilians and first responders are killed in the building. Survivors recount how while they were evacuating the building, FDNY firefighters were climbing up those very same stairs with the intent to save as many people as possible. 343 firefighters lost their lives in the World Trade Center, with a similar number of first responders who lost their lives in the years after 9/11 due to illnesses contracted while working at the pile, the nickname of the 9/11 smoldering wreckage. At 10:03 a.m., Flight 93 crashes into the ground near the town of Shanksville in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. The official report is that 4 hijackers crashed Flight 93 into the field after passengers and crew stormed the cockpit. However, debris found up to 8 miles from the crash site suggests the possibility that Flight 93 was shot down to prevent it from reaching its target. The 33 passengers and 7 crew members on board perished. The crash site is approximately 20 minutes flying time from Washington, D.C. At 10:15 a.m., a damaged section of the Pentagon's outer ring collapses. At 10:28 a.m., on the morning of September 11, 2001, the iconic New York City skyline was changed forever with the collapse of World Trade Center Tower No. 1. More than 1,600 people are killed as a result of the North Tower collapse. 11:02 a.m. New York City Mayor orders the evacuation of the entire Lower Manhattan. Mayor Rudy Giuliani and senior members of his administration find temporary shelter inside an office building close by the World Trade Center. As the dust begins to settle, they walk north, intent on establishing a new base of operations for city government. Reporters catch up with the mayor, who urges the public to evacuate Lower Manhattan. He will continue to address the public in briefings at temporary headquarters at the New York City Police Academy throughout the day. I would like to take this opportunity to tell everyone to remain calm, to the extent that they can, evacuate Lower Manhattan. 5:20 p.m., after burning for 7 hours, building number 7 collapses in what looks like a controlled demolition. Thankfully, there are no casualties as the building has been evacuated. At 8:30 p.m., United States President addresses the nation from the White House.
In a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices. Secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. America has stood down enemies before, and we will do so this time. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world.
9/11 is a solemn day in the United States history, and a day that should never be forgotten. Thank you for watching. Let's all take a moment of silence in memory of the lives lost at 9/11 attack of the World Trade Center towers.
Airplane that's been hijacked. If things don't go well, and it's not looking good, I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. So happy to time. Same to my parents and everybody. And I just totally love you, and I'll see you later. Hi, babe. Hope I call you.